Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. Welcome to Shape. For today's episode of Shape, we're going to talk about some of the obstacles that we're facing in modifying some of the Vanduul ships for human usage. Specifically, I'm going to show some work-in-progress images of updating the Scythe, which is a bladed fighter ship from the Vanduul that most of you are probably already familiar with. In updating the Scythe, we've been doing three things. Number one, upgrading the damage system. This isn't very exciting or Vanduul specific. We've been doing this for a lot of our older ships, but it's something we're working on. Number two, creating the HUD for this ship. And number three, refitting the cockpit for human usage. So one of the first things that we tried to determine when figuring out how to do the HUD and the cockpit refitting is who is actually making these changes to the ship. We figured it would fit best with the fiction if it was done by a company such as Anvil Aerospace, since they do a lot of contracting with the military, and it would be more likely for the military to capture a Vanduul ship and refit it for their own purposes rather than some other random ship company. So we tried to keep the aesthetics and look at the style guide for this company in mind as we move forward with these changes. I have a few images here of the HUD. And this was interesting because we had to create this from scratch. We had Vanduul flying this ship previously, not humans, so it was never something we actually had to create. One of the first things we did was change the HUD to red to give it right away a very visually distinct look that's specific to a Vanduul refitted ship. You'll also notice that we have some symbols around the corner to give a sort of hacked residual alien feel. I've also got an image here of one of the work-in-progress overlays. You'll notice that there's a little bit more symbology and design around the center. One of the elements we played with was having some pulsing designs towards the center to sort of give a recurring jailbreaked feel to the ship. Although we're currently trying to play around and find something that works and doesn't get in the way of actually shooting and gameplay while you're flying the ship. The cockpit was also one of the really big challenges. Again, we had to modify this to fit humans because it was just designed for Vanduul to fly before. And again, keeping in mind that Anvil Aerospace aesthetic, we thought, how would humans approach this to make it something that they can actually fly? One of the biggest changes we made was to the saddle. You'll see that we changed the length, the shape, and the angle, pretty much everything about where the player sits. We also added a rail system to make it easier for the humans to get into the cockpit area. You'll notice towards the front on the sides, we also added some more conventional human-looking button controls. This is because humans wouldn't have the second nature to use a lot of the controls that the Vanduul would use. They'd want a button console, similar to how they're used to flying most of their ships. We've also got a first-person view of the cockpit here to show you guys. You'll notice that we moved the beams that were largely blocking the human view. You might have noticed before when we were talking about the HUD, we were using the old view that you can see on the top as opposed to the new view on the bottom. Humans would definitely have wanted to modify the cockpit and the view that they have from the new seat that they created to make sure that it's something that they can actually fly without these getting in the way during combat. All right, that's it. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Back to you, Ben.